I was out today about you know how important it is that that the people who use the website are actually the ones that sort of decide how it gets developed, and
Yeah,
what happens next, because up until now I've kind of been sort of second guessing how I think people would want to use it and what I
yeah.
think would be useful, but obviously what I think is just my ideas, and it would I think it's important that all the people who use it have some kind of an input
Yeah, and
on
even if you're right, I think one of the many things I've learnt, not completely, but at least a little bit, learnt from working with young people, especially, I think, is and young people are just they're just people. So I think this applies to everyone really. I think is that even if you think you're right in knowing what someone needs, and even if it was what they would have chosen for themselves, giving them a genuine opportunity to decide is kind of still really important. It's not
yeah.
just about what the right decision is, it's about them knowing that their fate is in their own hands.
Yes.
That's what really being, having a sense of agency is about, I think. That's the opposite of being a passenger, which I think is what we're trying to move away from. Right?
Yeah.
And actually screwing stuff up is equally important as well, like,
Yeah, I
oh,
mean,
yeah,
as the website's developed already, I've put ideas in that I thought would be good, and then realised that they weren't working in the way that I'd envisaged people using them, and I've sort of revised things, taken things out and stuff. I think that's a really important process. I was wondering how best to do that, and I think that's probably something you might be able to give some input on. But I
mm,
was thinking maybe even, I mean, this is my first experience of Google Hangouts, but maybe even sort of hosting a fairly regular sort of open conversation where anyone who uses the website can join that and just sort of put their ideas forward.
yeah, I think that would be a really, yeah, I hadn't thought of that, and I think actually that could be really nice.
Yeah, because I mean, it's the way I understand it is, anyone can join in the
Yeah,
conversation. Is that right? Yeah.
yeah, and it's also recorded as well, so if people missed out on it, it solves both of those problems. Like, oh, I couldn't make it to that place,
Yeah.
or I couldn't make it at that time. It solves both of those problems, I
Yeah.
think.
And I think also one of the things I'm up against a little bit is people's suspicion about I've already had accusations of being, data mining for GCHQ and all sorts of things like that. So I think if you make, the whole process, as you say, recorded and
Yeah. Oh
and
man, yeah,
available,
exactly.
then those people who have those concerns can almost
Yeah.
like look back through the archives of all the discussions that were had and see how it's evolved.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a paper trail, and then also you see people like me slash change the future potentially if more of us decide to kind of I suppose more formally uh, endorse and support and at
Yeah.
least use Community Connector.
Yeah.
That'll create more legitimacy, and I think you'd have to be pretty nuts to sort of be like, oh, there's some corrupt agenda behind this. It's like loads of countless, clearly well-intended people and organisations are behind
Yeah.
it. But,
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's another thing I'm hoping is to get kind of well-respected organisations and individuals sort of backing it, just to give it that extra sort of credibility.
yeah,
Uh, so yeah, that's great. Um, yeah, sort of changing the subject a bit. I'll just let you know kind of where I'm at the moment, and sort of what I'm up against in terms of what I feel are the main problems at the moment. Um, I think the real thing at the moment is actually getting people to use it, because of
yeah,
the nature of the site. It's about getting people together in their community. You need a certain number of people in the community using it before it really becomes effective. If you're the only person
mm,
within 20 miles actually using it,
of
then
course,
pretty much useless.
But here's
So,
a question.
yeah,
I totally agree about that statement about proximity. Like the
yeah,
value of it becomes exponentially greater the more people there are to you that are
yes,
close, physically nearby.
mhm,
But what about? Don't you think, in a abstract way, there's kind of a community of people which isn't limited by
yeah,
proximity, which is
absolutely,
working together to improve the tool. And that is actually, that could potentially be quite a rich and exciting community, because it's a group of people who, perhaps one of the things we could look at is how to make that a fairly sort of social space. And actually, I think your idea of having a video call is a really nice way of going beyond just here's some ideas, this is 96% popular, 43 people have voted on this idea. It's like, oh, hello, human beings. How's it going, all right? Where are you from? Oh,
yeah,
God, you're from a different country. That's mad. Well,
yeah.
what's happening in the background? Anyway, yeah, let's focus. I think that's actually really nice. I think, this is the more holistic approach, I think, to
Yeah.
not solving other people's problems, but supporting them to identify their problems and solve them themselves.
And I've recognised that to a certain extent from the initial version of the website. When it started out, was very much location focused, to the point where it almost wouldn't let you connect with people who were more than a certain distance away from you. It was really location based because I wanted to encourage that. But then I realised that that was too limiting, and as a result of that, I've opened it up much more so that it is, it shows you who's near you, but it also allows you to connect with people all over the world, which I think is, really important. I think I was too focused on the community aspect of it, the physical, the location aspect of it. Initially, and I've moved, and I think as the numbers grow using it, you can almost bring the focus back towards that, but you need that sort of density of users. I think naturally, as there's more and more users, people will start to focus more and more on the users in their area. But initially, when there's less
Yeah,
users,
so that's the first question that's maybe possibly a little late, but still worth looking at, I think. Why did you not choose to roll this out one community at a time, like Facebook did? And I think probably would have killed Facebook if they hadn't done that. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like, they started off in one university and then two universities. And
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because actually, just a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking about this problem of getting the ball rolling in terms of the number of people,
mm,
and I thought to myself, imagine if you were one of the first users of Facebook, how useless it would have been to you if you were like one of the first users. And then I actually did a bit of research as to how Facebook started out, and I found,
mm,
and as you said, it started off just within a university, and then grew from there. And it's
mm.
that's quite interesting. Um,
It's possible that my old housemate, good friend of mine called Alex, was the first person in England to sign up to Facebook. Because,
really?
it came into England via the universities, so you had to sign up to it through a university. That was your
Ah,
network. And his university was the first one, Leeds. And when he signed up, the security was very different back then, and you could see everyone who was in your network. So when he signed up, there was no one else on it, and then after about 2 or 3 minutes of being on there, a girl signed up from his university, and then they were just able to live chat without even being friends.
okay, right, yeah.
And they were like, oh, this is funny, you're from my uni, oh wow, and then other people started popping up like that day, and then there was like shitloads of them the next day.
Yeah, one thing I'm looking at is I've got I guess sort of a similar idea. I've got the directory of organisations on there, and
Yes.
I'm looking at a few specific organisations that might sort of adopt it as a tool that they can use. So that, as you say, Facebook started in one university, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe the followers of a particular organisation, because it started out originally as a tool to connect the supporters of the Reset when we were doing the Reset project. Yeah. So that was like that, and most of the members in it are people who signed up through the Reset. So I'm thinking, if you get a few other organisations like the Reset to adopt it as a tool that they can use, it's a benefit to them as an existing kind of group, and then it can kind of spread that way. I've got a few organisations that are already sort of interested in it from that point of view. And what I'm also working on is, when you go onto the website on the homepage, you've kind of got the map with all the markers on that shows where everybody is. It's sort of like the main sort of interface to find out where people are around you.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is I'm building like an API that will allow organisations to put a similar map on their own website that will just show their supporters on their
nice.
Yeah, so that they can have like their own community connector on their website. It'll be integrated into this main community connector, but on their website it will just show their supporters, and then another organisation can have their own version on their website with their supporters. But then they all feed into the main sort of central site. So I'm hoping to get a few sort of pre-existing organisations to adopt that, have that on their website, and that way they're kind of going to be promoting it for me to their members.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's an approach I'm taking. But
I mean, there's definitely some low-hanging fruit there, isn't there? Like with ChageTheFuture, we could, of course, like so many platforms like Our Future Planet, which so much time and love has gone into, but I feel like it's kind of flopped, or just could have been so much better, their rollout strategy at least. And certainly I don't feel like it's taken up a lot of adoption, certainly not at the rate of many platforms bringing people together. And so I think this kind of going community by community is really important, and starting with the low-hanging fruit, the ones that are already kind of calling out for it. Yeah. Some of them by name, we need a tool that does this so we can have this result. And others, maybe not by name, but they're calling out for it without realising, they recognise the need, but they haven't put two and two together and gone, oh, this is what the tool should look like. So you maybe just have to help them understand, this will actually really help that.
And I think, there are certain organisations out there that seem so suited to using this, organisations that are all about, sort of creating local communities. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking, for example, the Ubuntu movement. The Ubuntu movement has got supporters all over the world, and it's all about creating local Ubuntu groups, local communities. And if an organisation like that were to adopt, my system, that would straight away bring in a lot of users. But it's, I guess it's a case of sort of convincing the people at the top of those organisations that it's a good idea, and I am working on that.
Can you see in the discussion box just to the side?
Yeah, I can.
Yes. Put a link to that Google Doc for minutes. I just thought this would be quite nice, just to organise what we chat about.
Oh yeah.
So I just thought maybe this is a nice way to format it: questions and then action points that come out of that. You are an anonymous jackalope today, because you're not signed into Google, I think.
Right. Oh, hold on. I don't. If I cut out, it's because my browser's crashing.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. I just clicked that link and my browser's crashed.
Oh no.
It's okay. I can still hear you.
Yeah, you sound good. Anyway, so I put questions and action points. I'm just sort of playing with it, really. Just you know me. I'm just always exploring how best people can organise together. So
yeah, that's good. Apart from anything, this is a really good exercise for me to explore what Google Hangouts can do.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So anyone in the world can edit this document at the moment. Potentially, you could change it to anyone in the world can view it and suggest edits or add comments, which is what we usually do for ChageTheFuture documents. But anyway, so I suppose if we were to sort of identify some questions that would be good to cover in this, it'd be maybe how to get more people to sign up.
Yeah, I mean
And
that's obviously my number one priority at the moment is is that. Um, Another thing I'd like to talk to you about actually is an idea that when I was out cycling earlier, I was thinking about what we might talk about,
yeah,
and I was thinking about your what we talked about last time I met you. You were doing your
wall of ideas. Yeah.
wall of ideas, and
Mm.
I had a bit of a sort of thought that maybe we should build something like that into the website, but rather than it being a wall of ideas, it's more like a map of ideas. So you can kind of pin an idea not to a wall, but to a map.
Mm.
So, for example, now I'd like to hear a bit more about how you organised, your wall of ideas, because I'm thinking, for example, okay, let's say I live in Eastbourne and I'm interested in setting up you know, a sort of community gardening project or something.
Mm.
I could pin that to a map as a sort of an idea, and then other people in the area can see that pin on the map, and they can sort of say whether they're interested in it, their ideas and things. So it's kind of a similar idea, I guess, to your wall of ideas, but location based.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you could give me a bit more
Yeah.
detail on what you actually did and how it worked for you and what worked and what didn't.
You will see, Mr. Dowle, in the chat window, I've put you another link to
Okay,
a Google Doc.
right.
A
My
public
browser is
doc.
completely not working at the
What are you
moment.
using? Chrome on a PC?
No, I'm using Firefox
On Windows 7?
on Windows. Yeah, I think maybe it's
Maybe, I suppose if you, I was going to say potentially Chrome is better,
I could
but
give Chrome a go.
then this Hangout is in Firefox, is it?
Yeah, it's in Firefox at the moment. I don't know if I can
That's fine.
open Chrome up and
I mean, it's a
do it.
bit funny that it shouldn't crash the browser just opening up a
Yeah,
Google Doc.
it was fine until I clicked on that link.
Hmm,
um,
funny.
yeah, I wonder if
Uh,
I can. Oh, hold on, it's responding. Let me. I'm gonna.
Maybe it's just updating or something.
Oh,
So,
script. Hold on, let me just. This stop script. It's that. I'm going to close that document link you sent me. There you go. There you go. I can see you now.
aha. Do you know Imagination for People? A project called Imagination for People.
It sounds familiar, like I've heard someone talk about it before, but I don't know anything about it.
Maybe it was me.
Maybe.
But it sounds like we're starting to uh, exploring potentially into a little bit of their territory, because they have a really beautiful open source, wonderful user generated database of people's projects, all kinds of weird and wonderful diverse projects. ChageTheFuture's on their database somewhere.
Okay, you got a link to that?
I have indeed. But what I'd like to explore more on that actually is I think fairly newish feature they've got on there, which is not just databasing projects, but actually creating an interface for people to identify the needs of their projects and also set.
Yeah, I was. It's funny you're saying just the things I was thinking when I was out earlier, because I was thinking, okay, if you pin an idea on this map, you pin the idea on, you're going to say, okay, this is my idea. This is probably okay. You might identify what the problem is that the idea is designed to solve. You say what the idea is, and then you say, okay, what do I need to make this work? I need probably a certain number of people. I need maybe a piece of land or something. If it's a gardening project, I need, and you sort of almost list all the different things that you would need to make the project work, and then then different people can say, okay, I can give you that, I've got that, or you know.
That excites me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just got to relocate.
No problem.
Yeah, that for me, that is super exciting. That idea, especially in a day and age where I feel like ever more day by day, people are creating projects and brands and grassroots movements and YouTube channels and sort of shared common visions a little bit, but actually not really getting a lot of traction because people are involved in 25 different projects and they're all a little bit stagnant because everyone's so fragmented. And actually half of the projects that we're each involved in are probably so similar that they could just find some way of actually merging with each other, or at least better interfacing with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you take an example like a community garden. Well, there's no point in two groups doing two community gardens in the same community. You know, they might as well get together and do one.
Yeah, so, and lift sharing websites as well. I think I may have used that example when we were meeting at Ray's house. Just saying like, it's lovely having a lift sharing website, but like not if there's 10 other ones online. Just like join another project instead. Like I feel like in many ways that's kind of the way people can often be most like impactful, is join something that already exists, because if everybody just creates something new that depends upon having a team to actually get anywhere, then no one gets anywhere ever. So just spend a little extra time just exploring what already exists and join that. Anyway, I'm not particularly doing that, and you're not. So
yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, I actually remember when I spoke to you the first time, and I was first introducing the idea of my website to you. Your first question was, is there another website that already does this? And if there is, why aren't you working with them? Yeah, I think we all like to do things our way and make it our project in a way, don't we? There's probably a little bit of ego kind of problem there, which we all probably have a little bit of.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I saw another project that simply gathered a democratic consensus in a way that I felt was of high quality, like the process is good quality, well designed, then I would be like, fair enough. Like I really enjoy the ChageTheFuture name and the logo and the branding and the sort of resources and stuff we've got, but loads of it's actually transferable. Like we could call ourselves like, Connect Intimately or something, or like Shape Humanity or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. And, loads of projects could all pull together and combine our skills and experiences and stuff. And I feel like actually I would be able to bring loads to the table of another project, because I'd probably put in like 40 hours a week into ChageTheFuture, and I feel like we've done a lot to build an infrastructure so that we're kind of like an inefficient engine. You put this much fuel in it and it won't go very far, and it won't go very fast, and it might stall. But like if it's a well-designed engine, and I think a project like ChageTheFuture or Community Connected could be like a well-designed engine, then just that energy, that fuel, it goes. It's like a well-oiled machine, isn't it? You really see it driving things forward. It's nothing more defeating than kind of putting in loads of time and effort into something and feeling like, I don't really see where that went. And I feel
that's slightly the frustration I'm feeling now. Is I put a huge amount of time into putting this website together, and I'm just struggling a bit to get people to actually sign up to it at the moment. And it feels like, it's like I put all these hours in, and and then I think you've seen even on Facebook, I actually sort of been tagging people. I want you to sign up and have a look at this. And these are some, who I would consider to be quite proactive people. And even some of them are not actually, I put it out there to them and they like it on Facebook, they click like, but when it actually comes to it, they don't even actually have a look at the website and sign up. and it's
Oh,
like,
my friend. Oh, Matt. Like, if there was one thing you took away from me ever in sort of talking about projects and sort of helping to build or catalyze movements, I think just yeah, share my journey of yeah, the perspective of there's always a reason, there is a reason, and it doesn't mean it's a good one, but it is the truth.
yeah,
And yeah, I think it's our duty if we want to be really sort of useful, valuable kind of catalysts for positive change making. It's our duty to, or our opportunity to, yeah, just keep just exploring and digging away at that reason, or the many reasons why. Why do people look at it? They like it. This
yeah,
looks awesome. Great. Are you gonna follow through? Yeah,
yeah,
totally. Tomorrow, gone.
yeah.
Like,
And
there's that's
you know,
happening. I think if we can find out why and
yeah,
just stay with it and just put our ego to the side and our sort of suffering maybe of like, I poured so much of my life into this and people are just like flippant as hell with it or whatever.
yeah,
So,
absolutely, yeah, yeah,
like then you're going to find something. You're going to have dug deeper than so many people have managed to because they couldn't get over that ego bit, the suffering bit, the frustration. And if we can, then we get to a new place where we go, it makes sense. Like, begin the theories of why it's happening. I know I've got a few that I could write an essay on and always developing, but
yeah. Yeah, because I'm observing interesting things like the number of people who actually go to the trouble of signing up. You know, the process is you sign up, you put your name and email address in and stuff,
hmm,
and then once you've signed up, you then have to sort of set your location and things, which is like the sort of key step really, because the whole point of it is you say where you are. And I'm looking at the number of people that go to the trouble of signing up, but then they don't take that second step of actually saying where they are. You know, I don't know whether that's maybe the sort of the paranoia kicking in a bit, that they just feel uncomfortable about revealing their location or something. But you know, it's quite interesting the number of people that aren't taking that step. And what I actually did a couple of weeks ago is I queried the database. I pulled out the 100 people who have signed up but haven't gone through to the second step of signing up, and
yeah,
I emailed them. And I said, look, I've noticed that you've started to sign up, but you didn't follow through with it. Could you give me a bit of feedback and let me know why? And you know how many replies I got out of 100? I got one. Out of 100 that I sent out, only one person bothered to reply. So, you know, okay, so some of them, you know, maybe didn't get the email, which may be why they didn't follow through with it in the first place. You know, maybe, you know, and the one person that did reply said, oh, your email went into my junk mail folder, my spam folder, you know, which may be a problem. But you know, it's just interesting that, you know,
Mate, do you share my feeling that we're exploring a territory here? Like the question, you choosing to send out that email, especially if it was kind of coming from a totally non-judgmental sort of place. Like, don't you feel like just that curiosity, that approach is so cutting edge? I feel like it's such important work.
Oh
For
yeah,
me,
absolutely,
really,
yeah. I mean, you know, I want the website to work as best as it can for the people who are using it, and it's so important to, you know, to understand how they're using it or how they're failing to use it.
yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, that's important. But
Man,
it's
your emotional sustainability is also well important, I think, as well.
yeah,
Like, don't forget that you're a human being, and you. I mean, yeah, you definitely since day one have struck me as someone who knows how to, yeah, take care of yourself and exercise and be happy and fulfilled and more like holistic sort of stuff. But yeah, like it, because you're so passionate about this project and what it's trying to help people to do, I think that's like a blessing and a curse, because it can easily you can easily sort of pour so much of yourself into it that you can become empty.
yeah.
so important not to. And this is very philosophical and spiritual and stuff now, but yeah, it's very interesting to me as well. So I guess I'm indulging in it. But,
Yeah.
but,
And
yeah, man. Anyway, so yeah, what you're talking about, like wall of ideas kind of layout stuff, huh?
Yeah, I've got your document open that you sent through actually with your pictures and stuff on.
Yes, there's someone actually who lives in Chesham, you know, sort of I think near London, isn't it? Who's involved in Change the Future.
Right.
Who was saying he wants to set up Change the Future Chesham.
Okay.
I'm very Brighton based at the moment, with kind of a bit of sort of non-geographical community, which is kind of the online contributions and interactivity we get. But in terms of face-to-face interaction, Change the Future is solidly based in Brighton, I think. So yeah, he's exploring kind of taking it to Chesham, setting up our kind of, I guess, duplicating our weekly format, for example, of strategy meetings, which are in person, but also Google Hangout available to everyone.
Sure, yeah.
And the socials on Wednesday and the working groups is the third weekly event, and they're on Thursdays. Whatever. But it's kind of duplicating that, I imagine, to Chesham. Something similar to that, I suppose. But yeah, so Community Connector could be, yeah, obviously really useful, I imagine, potentially for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I wonder if I think user journeys are really interesting, like writing up, preferably with a few images if possible, and it could take best part of a day to do this, to do it really well, in a really sort of engaging, emotionally affecting way. And it shouldn't be too long, probably, like maybe 2-3 pages max. But I think it gives a journey that really, in detail, shows like what you imagine to be a really typical kind of personal experience for one person using Community Connector in like just the way you dream of.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Something I've been meaning to do for ages.
Yeah.
Still haven't done. But like I've got halfway there, and I realise it brings up so many new questions, and then, you know, that's something that's really easy and quite engaging potentially for some people who are interested in giving any level of feedback, you know, giving to them, and they can say, oh yeah, I never really thought of it having that impact on another person, or me using it in this way, or I think that's a bit naff, like I wouldn't bother doing that thing on your user journey because I didn't feel a need to, or whatever. It doesn't mention this thing that I did do that I think's great. So yeah, the user journey, I think, is because you can't be someone else. You can't put yourself in someone else's shoes, like literally. You can empathize and ask people what their experience was, but something you can do is say the experience that you imagine somebody could have on there, and then they can compare what the reality of that experience was to that.
Yeah, I'll just dropped a YouTube video in there. It's a little 2-minute video that I put together, which is kind of, I wanted to kind of do that, but in a very short way. It's just a little video that kind of shows, for someone who hasn't seen the website yet, shows kind of the sort of things you can do with it from a visually.
Okay.
You know, I sort of took screenshots really of different aspects of the site and put it together in a short video.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I guess, a similar idea, but in much less detail, because it's really just kind of giving a visual overview of what the site actually looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really nice, I think. And if that can be short as well, that's so amazing.
But yeah, no, I like the idea of getting across to people how I envisage the site working. I think, as you say, kind of my dream, kind of, if I could say to someone, this is how you have to use the website, kind of thing. This is the steps you want to take to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Actually, sort of put that down in writing. That's a good idea.
That link I gave you for Imagination for People, because they've revamped their website. It reminds me a little bit of Windows 8. In that it seems to kind of have two totally different like like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, sort of like different faces, and it's kind of like choose
Okay.
one.
I'm just
But
looking at that.
this is the previous one it had. I'll just link you. I put it in the Google Doc as well. Type stuff into that Google Doc, man, if you feel like it's useful. Like, yeah, just help me to put
Okay.
some in there if you feel like it. But anyway, yeah, so that probably makes more sense, that link now.
Okay, I'm just opening that up.
You can
Yeah.
see the database of projects there.
Okay.
But from there, you can see a button saying Browse Projects, sort of near the top left corner.
Top left.
Yeah, near the top left corner.
Oh
And
yeah,
that,
got
there's
it. Got it. Yeah.
505 pages of projects on here.
Wow. Okay.
And you can filter them by all kinds of like area that they work in or status.
Okay, I'm just looking at, you see, obviously the thing I'm interested in is location. So they got a location drop down, which seems to just be a list of countries.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if I wanted to find out if there's a project, you know, here in Eastbourne or something, has it got that level of location search in it? Because that's obviously what my website's all about, is getting the local projects.
I'm just getting countries.
Yeah, I'm getting countries too, so I'm wondering whether they hold that information.
Interesting.
As to where they are. I'm just clicking on a project now. I mean, I know that's. I'm clicking on one called Port Merion because I know that's in Wales. Sea project.
Oh, mate, there's some really cool looking projects on here, man.
Yeah, you see.
Have you heard of Human Library as well? That's on there.
You see, you see what would be great is if something like this could sort of almost. Ah, there is a map on there. Hold on, what's at the top? No, it's just United. You see, the limit of this location data seems to be that it's a project in the United Kingdom, and you know, it says in the description that it's in North Wales, but it doesn't actually allow you to sort of search by location.
Right.
Which is interesting. You know, I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if we could somehow integrate their 500 pages of projects and somehow locate them on my map?
Yeah.
That would be amazing. But yeah, I'm gonna explore this website a lot more because that's interesting.
And are you aware of? I'll sit these in the minutes as well. Two that definitely come to mind as potentially really low-hanging fruit, who would be like, this is exactly what we need, and we've got loads of people, and they're really proactive, and we're established, and yeah, this location thing could be great. Potentially they already have something, but anyway, good for nothing.
I've not heard of that one.
And make sense.
Makes sense. I've heard. I think that rings a bell. Have you got links to both of those?
Yes. So, makesense.org.
Yeah, let's have a look.
So they're really impressive. They've grown very fast. They're in various countries. They've got many thousands of members, I believe. And they hold events, you know, like every few days. You can see on their website, actually, next events. They've got a calendar full of almost something every day, almost.
Yeah.
They kind of have a very particular format. They've got clear parameters, I think, on how you can interact. So they've got names for the different roles. Like you can be a gangster, you can be a connector. You can hold an event, which is called a hold up. It's kind of got a lot of its own language and sort of inside talk, which is sort of maybe some people a little bit naff, but it's fun for other people, and I think it is quite young. I'm starting to get a little bit of a feeling like it's sort of a lot of 20-somethings, sort of fairly liberal, entrepreneurial type
Okay, yeah.
people. But actually, I mean, that is kind of, I think that's sort of intentional. Like they do want, it is about kind of supporting social entrepreneurs by doing offline events where they come face to face to gather around a challenge for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm just scanning through. This is interesting.
In fact, they would do a hold up for you, I'm sure, about the community connector, and you would end up with maybe 10 people contributing 2 hours of their time, again with a very like formulaic interface. So it will be facilitated by a make sense connector, and they would sort of sit with you beforehand to identify some goals, and then there's a sort of make sense training thing they will have had to sort of gather. They do something whereby they get like 100 ideas from people, and then they can very quickly vote on the best ideas, and then do a little presentation of them, and they share those on social media. That's kind of the format of it.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to explore this one. Looks interesting.
But I don't think they're just limited to the hold-ups, because the hold-ups are sort of, they're fun, but I'm very kind of stuck on this. I'm just passionate about the sort of change the future approach of creating like permanent, lasting spaces, be they physical spaces or online spaces, like just having the conversation last more than 2 hours.
Yeah.
And the contributions being very clearly organised, and the shit ones that don't go anywhere just being like really sunk to the bottom, so that the best ones can really rise to the top. And best meaning, you know, a clever system of democratically popular, well-developed, well-researched, well-debated proposals moving forward.
Yeah. That's good. Okay. What was that other one you mentioned? Good for nothing.
Good for nothing. Yeah, it's on the minutes as well. You should be able to Google that and find it quite easily.
Yeah.
But man, I'm sure that surely makes sense. Will have because they've had a bit of money and definitely some marketing stuff behind them and stuff. They're quite solidly established. Good for nothing as well. You know, they're quite well established, well designed, good online, good websites. You know, so I'd be surprised if they don't have some kind of map for seeing members. But I can't see it. I'm surprised, man. Homepage.
What's their website?
Good for nothing. That's mad if I can't just find local people.
Is it like got a sort of red logo at the top? Goodfornothing.com, is it?
I would have thought it'd be an org. Good for nothing.
Oh, maybe I'm on the wrong one here. Hold on.
Oh no, yeah, collaborating for good. That's it.
Is that it?
Why is it .com? That's funny. Yeah, it's all kind of pretty hand-drawn.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah.
Yeah, quite beautiful.
Got to find your local chapter at the top.
Yeah, that third image on the hero on the front page is a sort of map of people as well. Yeah, so they've got a bit of their own lingo as well. They use the word chapter to mean kind of replicating the good for nothing sort of model in your area. So a little bit like makes sense, have a connector. You're stepping forward, you're stepping up to say, I'm going to write the next chapter that's in my community. So I think there's a chapter in Brighton already.
Yeah, I was thinking they've got a map. They've got a map on there as well. There's one in Brighton. And then they got events happening in Brighton. That's interesting.
Good for nothing girls. Loads, isn't there? East London, yeah, Brighton.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's just so many groups out there. You know, a big part of what I want to do is actually not just getting individuals connecting, but getting organisations connecting as well. You know, trying to encourage all these different organisations to start working better together. You know, and I sort of what I found that I had a bit of frustration where, I could see all this infighting between groups, at a sort of organisational level. So, the organisers of one group didn't want to cooperate with the organisers of another group. And I thought, okay, well, if you can't get two groups working together from an organisational point of view, why not encourage their supporters to start working together? Kind of almost like bypass the organisations themselves and get their supporters to work together, which was kind of like I was thinking, okay, you get all the supporters of one group in Eastbourne and all the supporters of another group in Eastbourne, both using the community connector, then you get those supporters collaborating in Eastbourne, kind of, outside of the groups that they're, so you're sort of almost getting rid of the groups to a certain extent. Because, in the sort of, all the sort of activism type movements, there's so many groups and there's a huge amount of infighting going on between them, groups accusing other groups of, it just, I don't know, I find it really that they just can't work together, there's,
It's funny when a movement or group sort of preaches cooperation and collaboration and then isn't able to practice it themselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then ChageTheFuture, I think, really wants to explore how best it can interface like a jigsaw piece, really connect with and share nutrients and resources, if you like. I take a lot of inspiration from nature, especially in analogies, I think, because what better can we take inspiration from than what created us and sustains us? But yeah, how can we really share our skill sets? Like there's been the ChageTheFuture workforce, so I'm sure would be really useful for other projects and organisations, and also just resources we've created. Like I remember when I first heard about Make Sense, one of the first things we shared with each other was like a list of funding opportunities. Like we each had a huge document. We'd obviously put a lot of time into exploring everything from fellowships through to funding for events or travel or potentially even paying people, whatever, and we just shared those, and that just took 1 second. It's just that was in a way an interface that we chose to create between the two of us. We could have just never had the idea to share that. But yeah, that's obviously it's not the most inspiring example, I guess. We so much more intimately in a more valuable way than that. But yeah, so. So I mean, yeah, Good for Nothing and Make Sense obviously have a sort of a big framework which justifies the reason to database their members, whether or not they put them onto a map. It looks like Good for Nothing at least kind of do. Make Sense has lots of Facebook groups actually. I think generally the core team seem to make Facebook groups for every city that Make Sense has begun to expand into, and there are a lot of cities in England they've expanded into.
I'm seeing this strategy a lot with a lot of organisations that are creating local Facebook groups as a tool to organise on a local level. You've got, I'm thinking of examples.
Just hold 1 second. I've just got a phone call. I'll just be.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Hello. It is, Hello. I'm just in a Skype call with someone just now. But who? Okay, can I? Should I call you back after my Skype call? No. No? Tell me. Hello. Yep. I do vaguely remember seeing their name on Facebook. I'm not sure who this is. I don't have your number on my phone.
Okay, my name is Alistair. I'm a friend of Alex, Patrick, Brian, and Connor.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. What was your name again? Did you say? Alistair. Oh, I remember you. Yes, I think I remember you. I've met you.
Okay. Anyway, you're not aware of what I do for work, right?
Um, last time I saw you, which was a very long time ago, I seem to remember you doing farming things or something. Actually, no, I really don't know. No. Mm-hmm. Okie dokie, yes. Sure. Okay, bye. Cheers, bye. Wow, that was that's someone I haven't seen for absolutely ages, and somebody they seem to have some strange connection with on Facebook has tried to add me, or there's some conspiracy going on. I'm going to think about that later. Yeah, I think somebody added me on Facebook who that person thinks is dodgy or something. But anywho, sorry, you were in the middle of speaking.
No, I was just saying about how a lot of organisations are using Facebook groups for sort of local groups. I mean, off the top of my head, Zeitgeist Movement. You know, there's hundreds of different local Zeitgeist Facebook groups and stuff, and you know, a lot of things like that. And you know, I think a lot of organisations are kind of sort of resorting to Facebook as the sort of tool that's available to get their to get their supporters sort of connecting at a local level. So I guess what I would like to see is for what I've built to sort of become that tool in a way.
I guess it's partly because I would argue it's because Facebook has it offers so many things, man. It's like amazing for saving, organizing, sharing your photos.
Yeah.
Like what else? Not many things really allow me to go, I want to see photos of me and Matt together from 2 years ago. Like,
it is. Yeah.
And then to organize events, you can host files. We use it for my shared house to kind of put minutes for meetings and like all kinds of, you can do like democratic polls in our Change the Future workforce group to like vote on things, for, against, abstain, in a poll. There's so many things, and I think, and instant messaging as well with quite
I mean it's sort of, it's just so big, Facebook now. It's sort of, I don't think anyone could even dream of competing with it, really.
Yeah, but so I feel like that's kind of what users are sort of expecting more and more of things. They don't want to have accounts on 100 different websites, and if they sign up to something new, they want to see immediately how it makes something easier for them. And,
yes.
I think the hardest thing of all is telling people that they're struggling with something when they don't, in this moment, feel like they necessarily are.
Yeah.
People are amazing at solving their problems, perceived problems, by buying products and services. Like my jumper's a little bit torn here, so I know I must be able to get stronger thread, or like, I can always buy something to make my life sort of easier or whatever. Yeah. But to kind of tell people that they've got a problem, they're like, no, I don't. You find it hard to meet people who are near you based on the things you're passionate about. And it's like, do I? Yeah, I do. Like, you've got to convince people that they're suffering a little bit, or kind of missing a trick, which I think is.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem generally with, on a much larger scale with society is, you look at people who are sort of, I would describe as sort of slaves, basically. They're in the system of working all hours, slavery to the sort of money system, and the problem is that they don't realise that they've got a problem. They don't realise that, they just think it's normal. And I think that's a big problem. Is actually, you've got to show people what the problems are before they can even think about a solution.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Understand their problems and why they're problems. And, what was I going to say? One on request. There are some guys who live in Brighton who are really open and so up for meeting people and exploring ways to collaborate and stuff. I feel like they really practice what they preach. They're called On Request,
Okay.
and they are developing. It's so hard, isn't it? Like describing other people's tools for them, like on their behalf. I can't even describe ChageTheFuture half the time eloquently to people. I feel like On Request, I think, is a way of very visually organizing ideas and sharing them with no attachment to the author. It's just like ideas and interests float around freely in this kind of digital ether, and you can connect to them and sort of see how they relate to other ideas and questions on request. They're very new. They're very, very driven, and I imagine they will be in a different place within a few months. But they're very kind of proactive about gathering opinions and gathering feedback, and really rolling out. Not just taking the approach of, here, I made this, I'll put it there, build it and they will come. They're very much like reaching out to communities, and so like with ChageTheFuture might use it to sort of put all the questions we're toying with, some which may be massive ones about how can we have a better voice in our community, or gather opinions, or all the way down to I suppose things like I don't know. I keep thinking of questions in my mind, and actually I don't use it that much because I'm actually a massive user interface snob. Like what leads to is a amazing web platform. There's two websites that I was going to suggest looking at for gathering feedback from people and kind of measuring how many people share their feeling that would be good to make this change to the community connector. One was What Leads To. I'll write them both in.
Okay.
Using, sorry, just one sec. What Leads To. So I just tried loading it up actually just now, and for the first time today, it seemed to be kind of just loading forever. Like if I tried to, we created a What Leads To, which is a kind of collaboratively building a strategy to achieve an aim. So you go, here's our ultimate goal, to be the best possible catalyst for self-organization in communities.
Right.
How do we do that? By doing A, B, and C. How do we do A? By doing 1, 2, 3, and 4. How do we do, and so it just keeps going down and down and down. So you create a strategy map. And sort of lots of businesses and organizations do this kind of thing. So it's not a particularly new idea, but what sort of makes it a little bit more interesting is that you can create them in public spaces, so anybody can use them. And actually what Leads To do something I love with web platforms that harness collective intelligence in various ways, which What Leads To does, I think, at least a little bit, which is they use their medicine on themselves, they use their tool on themselves. So What Leads To have their own aim, their own board, whatever you call it, which is what leads to a better What Leads To.
Okay.
And so there you can see lots and lots of people have put countless ideas about how What Leads To could be improved, and then you can see how many people have agreed with each thing. That's
I'm just loading it up, see if it will open.
Yeah, is it loading?
I got the home page to open, and then there's got some examples at the bottom, and I clicked on one of them, and it sort of just seems to be hanging.
What Leads To is a simple way to work on a big aim with lots of people.
Yeah. It doesn't, when you actually click through to one of the, I don't know what they call them, one of the
They
board.
must have some server or database thing.
Yeah, I've just got a spinny thing saying loading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we created. Well, I'll put the link into the chat anyway.
Yeah,
Just
put the link there. I'll
Though I don't know if the chat is actually saved.
I was going to ask you that.
If you do this, it's saved. You know, you can share your screen on Google Hangouts. So if I do this, whee! Yeah, that's just like quite a fun way of just getting like a visual record of.
Oh yeah, I love
It's not very useful for you can't click them, but at least it's just like a lazy way of visualizing what you've sort of written in here. Anyway, and then I'll show you the other one while we're chatting about it. How much do you know Trello?
Trello. I've used Trello once because the website I was working on, the project manager of that website used it. So I used it on that, and yeah, it seemed really good. I've just used it that once, but it did seem good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think when you mentioned it last time when we met, and I think that was the first time I'd really come across it. And then a few weeks later, this job I was working on, they said, oh, well, we'll add you to our Trello, and that's where I sort of first actually used it.
Mm.
But yeah, it does look good.
I'm just organising these into the minutes. Yes, man, Trello is very flexible. We use it for all kinds of things in ChageTheFuture. But yes, you'll see in the Hangout chat window, I've put a link to the Trello board I think is most interesting, most relevant to collating feedback.
Okay.
Collating and synthesizing feedback, and also responding as well.
Okay. Yeah, I've opened that up.
There you go. I've got all those links in the minutes now.
Brilliant.
Are you seeing is that making sense, that Trello development board thing? So if you click on any of those cards, you can see generally pretty huge conversations about, you know, this is all kinds of users of Trello saying, yeah, I can't wait for this feature, please can you do it in this way? Or what about if we do this sort of thing? Or,
Right,
you know,
so is this like Trello's own kind of, this is their own board, is it?
Yeah, this is Trello using Trello
Yeah,
to
okay.
invite all of their users to help make Trello better.
Right.
And at the same time, they've kind of combined it with sort of showing the changes that they have made already. So you can kind of keep tabs on what's changed and maybe even see why if you're like, why did this thing change? And you're like, oh, actually, I understand why now.
Okay, yeah.
It's nice, man. Like, I wish governments did this. Why doesn't our city council say, by the way, yeah, we made fucking 400 decisions on your behalf over the last week while you're on holiday to France. Here's a list of what they actually were and why we did them. And by the way, here's a list of the things that we'd like to do over the next couple of months. We welcome your feedback. And then they'll see that 90% of Brighton says, what are you doing? Please don't build that disgusting structure in the city.
Yeah.
This way we move people away from being passengers and more towards being questioning, active change makers responsible for their communities and responsible for their tools that they use to solve their own problems, I think. So I think the more we can make things like ChageTheFuture or community connect to not just projects or tools that happen at the users, but things that are shaped by the users, you know, that's going to create the sense of belonging.
Yeah. I think a really important thing about what I would like users to get out of my website is also to, you know, I appreciate the value of all these online tools that we've got, but I think actually meeting people is really important. The connection that you make with someone when you actually physically meet them. And what I would love to see is, as a result of my website, is for people to actually, you know, start meeting up in groups, you know, even if it's just like 3 or 4 people going down to their local pub and sitting around and chatting. You know, that kind of connection that you can never really make in the sort of, you know, it's always to a certain extent sort of anonymous when you're online. I mean, you know, what we're doing now is close because we can actually see each other, which I think is a real help. But a lot of these things like Trello and things, because you don't necessarily know the people that you're interacting with, and you can't even see what they look like. You're lacking something there that when you meet someone in person and actually look them in the eye and make eye contact with someone, you make a kind of connection that I think is really important. So, you know, as much as I love all these sort of all these online tools that we've got, including the ones that you and I are working on, I'd almost like, you know, once people have connected through my website, I want them to actually stop using it in a way and go and meet each other. You know, I want it to be that initial connection, but once they made that connection, I'd actually rather they then actually met each other and didn't have to use the internet anymore. So, because I
think they go hand in hand so much. Yeah. You know, I think I've not seen any viable way that's completely offline for people to really, in a scalable way that can involve any number of people, such as a whole city or even a big school. You know, gather the problems and dreams and skills and needs and wishes of very different people who can't all be at a particular place at a particular time, and maybe just could even have social anxiety and all kinds of things like that as well. I think are important too, accessibility issues and things as well. Although there's another world of accessibility issues with online as well. So, but that's why I think they go hand in hand. You know, so but also just like organizing the information. Like if it is just purely social and you're just chatting, course, like why would you infect that with technology? It's just so like socializing is the most human thing of all. It's the most natural thing. Like we've never been alive without socializing, not even for a day, not even when we were like a fish or a monkey. Like we are first and foremost social beings, but increasingly more as we evolve, I think we are also beings that create structures and ways of cooperating and organizing together, and that's also very natural too. And I feel like because we have become so dominant and so kind of, we're a bit like a virus, aren't we? Like the way we sort of, our population is expanding and expanding, and we've more than ever, you know, become quite unsustainable in the nature that has created us has actually started to struggle to maintain us now. We seem to have like broken out of the rules of nature somehow and become this exception that's not really sustainable, and we will die and wipe ourselves out if we continue this way. So something really disruptive is going to need to happen. So I think we're going to have to do something that's also out of our nature, that breaks the trend of our history and evolution, in order to solve this challenge that's sort of broken the trend of our history and evolution. And I feel like the best weapon for doing that we've ever had is the web. I feel like there's no greater tool for bringing us together, not so much socially, but sharing ideas and skills and information and educating ourselves and each other on issues, and organizing, we're going to meet in this place at this on this day, you know, making new connections and connecting dots. It's a means to an end, isn't it? That's what
absolutely, and I think interesting what you said about, you know, the practicalities of actually, you know, when you're at a sort of even a city level or town level, or physically you can't get that number of people together physically.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the numbers. Something I'm quite keen on exploring is actually identifying the most productive connections. So, if you can only get 10 people together, make sure you get the right 10 people together who are going to work well together and I guess complement each other well. So I guess to a certain extent, that's why I've sort of started to bring in this idea of when you sign up to the website, you sort of say what your skills and interests are within those 12 sectors. Is kind of the beginnings of what I'd like to look at of trying to get the right people connecting, not just people in your area, but people in your area who you'll actually work well with. And I'm, there's a guy I've been sort of starting to work with, a guy called Jazz Razul. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's.
Oh, right, yes, the psychometric. He sort of matches up people based on their personality qualities, kind of.
Yeah, he basically what he does, he asks 30 questions.
Yeah.
And from those 30 questions, he builds up a kind of, he calls it an atmoscape. It's like a picture of someone's sort of personality, not personality, but their sort of, I suppose it is a picture of their, I'm not sure what the word is.
Sort of profile, the way I understand it. Profile their traits and
and from that you can actually find people who will work well together, not necessarily sharing the same interests or skills, but more on a sort of deeper personality level, people that will actually work well together. And I've been exploring with him. We've actually started working on it. Actually incorporating what he calls it social resonance or social DNA, and actually incorporating that into what I'm doing, so that you can connect people not just based on their location, but also based on their sort of social resonance. And he's got some amazing sort of statistics of the idea that you need a certain percentage of a population to bring about a change. If a certain percentage of the population are working together on a particular aim, that can manifest based on a certain number of people, and then how that number is vastly reduced if those people are actually people who resonate well together.
So, like, it doesn't have to be a huge amount of people to get this sort of sometimes talked about tipping point.
Exactly, and that number can be really reduced if those people have been matched, so that they, as he says, they don't cancel each other out. Sometimes you get a group of people together and some of them will actually cancel each other out in terms of their, their sort of effect, if you like. And if you get people working well together, that doesn't happen. So that's something I'm really keen to explore further, and I am working with him on that, which will be really interesting. So
that's super. I thought the first time I met him yonks ago with Chris Coverdale, actually, at some event in Parliament yonks ago with Charlie, probably like 5 years ago,
right,
or 4 years ago, and we met him there, and I was like, hello, you're interesting, and I met him again probably like a year ago, and we remembered each other. Fun. Some event or something.
He's a really interesting guy.
I mentioned WeShare actually in the minutes as well, because they're another project that I feel like definitely, they're huge and well established, international, loads of members. They bring them together sort of to act as a catalyst for people with projects looking to do social good particularly with the element of technology, though they don't necessarily have to be tech obsessed, but yeah, so they help organize, they create spaces actually. I think that's what's cool about them. They create physical spaces and events, and just kind of really nice, good quality invitations, I would call it, for people just to meet each other, get to know each other, and but yeah, they don't do that thing I was talking about before, that permanent space. That I think you're really working in the field of permanent space, which I think is awesome. Here is a place you can always go to, a virtual space you can always go to help you to physically hook up with people in real life.
Yeah,
and that virtual space is always there. You can always go back there if you
sure.
have a project idea or you want to talk to some coding experts who are near you. You know the place to go to find out where they are and reach out.
And the other thing is, when you make those connections and you've actually met someone, those really are lasting connections then, because I think when you meet someone and develop a friendship with someone, that can last a lifetime, can't it? So, I think that's really powerful as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And what's what I've found great actually is something I've got out of my own website is I've actually met a couple of people in Eastbourne through my own website.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool, because that's like, it's actually worked for me.
Mate, like, what better user journey is there than your own? Like,
exactly.
Don't separate yourself from it. Like, why don't we just hook up and I'll just bring a camera and you can just say, I use this really cool website called Community Connector. I happen to build it. But anyway, I met these interesting people. Why don't you use it too?
Funnily enough, it was actually meeting Ray that kind of inspired the idea in the first place, because Ray was the first person I met local to me who sort of shared my awakenedness, if you like. I don't know if that, I didn't know anyone who was sort of quote unquote awake anywhere local, and Ray was the first person I met. And I remember saying to Ray when I met him, it's such a relief to find someone else who I kind of resonate with on that sort of level that actually is local. And that was kind of what gave me the idea. I thought, well, this is great. I've met someone, wouldn't it be great for other people to start meeting people in the same way? And
yeah.
So that kind of.
Ray, did you say?
Sorry?
How did you say you met Ray?
How did I meet Ray?
Yeah.
I got involved with a there was a guy called Dave Eden who set up the community press group, and he was friends with Ray, and I was helping him out with his website, and he was living he's up in the Midlands somewhere, and I'd never met him, and he said, oh, I'm going down your way at the weekend, I'm meeting with a friend of mine called Ray, why don't you come over and meet me at the same time? And I went over to meet this other guy, and it just happened to be that we were meeting at Ray's place. So,
it's a nice place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird how these things. Well, it's not weird how these things happen. I thought it was weird how these things happen once, but I don't think it's so weird anymore.
God, it's so hard to. I just want to see the people in Brighton on Good for Nothing, because I still don't feel like I think there's still a chance you haven't found the page I think is most relevant to Community Connector, which allows you to not only see a list of all the people in Brighton, but also I think you can view them by skill types and stuff, skills and interests.
Yeah, because when you click on Brighton, you get the events. It seems to be sort of prioritising events, doesn't it?
So there's 127 Good for Nothingers, GFNers in Brighton. I just want to see that list. Attend a gig or social. I'm not feeling that. I do really like the hand-drawn thing. I'm a bit of a sucker for like hand-drawn websites, but yeah, I'm definitely feeling the pain on this. I just want to see everyone in Brighton.
Yeah, because you can click on a person and see their kind of profile, can't you?
Yeah. Just gives you like a little sort of view of a handful of them.
Are you signed in? Because I wonder if you need to actually be a member.
No, I tried not signed in and signed in, and I'm still not.
Still the same, yeah.
Yes. It must still be possible. Well, they give you just a selection and then not show you all of them. Also, do you know Just for the Love of It, which has that been eaten by Buzzbank or something? You know, Just for the Love of It?
I do, yes.
Mark Boyle's project, Moneyless Man.
Now, I just typed Just for the Love of It into Google and it's coming up with Street Bank.
That's it, Street Bank. What did I say? Buzzbank, yeah.
Yeah.
Street Bank consumed it. I think they like sort of absorbed it, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, Just for the Love of It's joining forces with Street Bank. But anyway, it's awesome. It lets you share things and skills with your neighbours and join in with discussions.
In fact, when I was, you know, when you said to me originally, is there another website out there that does what you're doing, kind of thing? And I did a bit of research. This was one of the ones that came up as being kind of close.
Mm.
You know, it's probably the closest to doing what I'm doing in a way.
Perhaps, yeah. And it's also it does create an interface for people to share spaces and tools as well as skills. Man, I kind of do feel like I don't like centralization. So, for example, like peer-to-peer software being totally decentralized, I think that's awesome. Bitcoin not being operated and administrated from some elite authority who get to just change the rules and delete things or kick people out or moderate stuff. I don't believe that approach.
Yeah.
Centralization and top-down authority and in things that are supposed to be ours, because it's not mine if I can't shape it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I do agree with something slightly different, which is like holistic platforms and tools. Like I like big vision projects. I think most of the time, I'm thinking particularly web platformy things, I guess. Like, why would I use 7 different websites to do the following things? Kind of find people who live near me, lift share, do like let scheme, the let scheme, like sort of time banking, kind of clean my house and you'll walk my dog or drive me somewhere.
Yeah, actually, I looked at the there's a timebank.org, I think it is.
Yeah.
Which I was looking at as well, because they've got kind of local groups all over the country.
Well, Let's have been going for yonks, man. I remember when I was a tiny little boy, and my mother was on the Let's scheme in Oxford, and in Brighton they used to be really strong, and now it's definitely not dead. There's maybe 100 people, 150 who are sort of still in the directory, and there's definitely a diverse load of skills. Sure, you get a load of people doing sort of spiritual unicorn chakra massage and spirulina sort of milkshakes, but you also get a lot of I've definitely used it mostly for people kind of driving my stuff around in a van, actually, which has been incredibly useful. And I've helped lots of people with computers and kind of cleaning for less able-bodied people. I've really loved feeling useful to people who struggle with stuff I find easy, and I felt instantly like I've got so much out of just meeting them and being trusted by them. Invited into the home of a sort of slightly older lady who lives on her own, maybe doesn't have that much of a kind of social network locally, and just really appreciates my interest in her needs and her life, and it's like a really interesting, nice person to be around, and like it's suddenly you realise it's kind of less about the you helped her send some pictures to her family in another country, or less about helping clear that other person's attic with a Hoover that they couldn't get into. I mean, that was useful, but in a way it's actually more about the fact that you're meeting your fucking neighbours who
Yeah.
definitely otherwise would have had very, very little chance ever interacting with.
Yeah, totally. I totally resonate with what you said there. I mean, that's so important to me, is just, as you say, just meeting. But I mean, I on my street, I barely know my own neighbours. I mean, I think most people are like that. You probably talk to your neighbours occasionally, but there's probably 100 houses on my street, and I probably know about 3 people.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a really really big problem, and I think in a way I think people spending more and more time on the internet and things like Facebook is partly to blame for that, because you tend to interact more with your sort of online communities than you do with people in your own street.
I'm more plugged into the global community and less plugged into the local community.
Yeah, which is good, because you're solving things on a sort of global level, but I think it's important to have both.
Yeah, totally, exactly.
I mean, as with all things, it's all about balance, isn't it? You've got to
diet, man. You need a healthy diet. With the web is not something that would be sensible to just completely move away from. As communities, societies. We just need to understand, like, just with technology generally, we need to find ways of being more conscious about it, how it fits into our lives, the decisions we make around technology, how much time we spend on it, how we use it. It needs to be decisions we make not just based on companies saying, can we sell this product or service, sort of web, Spotify, YouTube, can we make money out of it? Will people use it? Done. Now it's in everyone's lives, like 24/7. But more like, can we sell this? Will people use it? Is it what people actually need?
Yeah.
Good. Create it.
Yeah. And then there's the other aspect as well, as the actual technology itself, and the sort of people buying their new iPhone every 6 months. And
sorry, man. Let me just really quickly grab this. Unknown number. Hello. Hi. Who's this? Okay. Yeah, I think so. Yes. I'm going to call you back if that's all right. Just after I finish this meeting. I'm just sort of finishing up with someone. It shouldn't be too much longer. Yeah. I'll give you a ring in a bit. All right, mate. Cool. All right, bye. Cheers. It's like unknown numbers calling me. I do know them. I knew them both. Yeah, sorry. It's always when you were talking, though. Yeah.
No, I was just talking about iPhones, just as you picked your iPhone up, actually.
Yes. Sorry, I can't listen to the important thing you're saying. I'm too busy on my phone.
Yeah. No, I was just saying another problem with the sort of the technology is the actual people's need to have the latest technology all the time is not a particularly healthy thing. This need for the latest iPhone every 6 months and things is something I think people need to get away from a bit. Do you really need an iPhone that's half a centimetre bigger than the last one, or whatever it is, or half a gram lighter?
Yeah, I'm unimaginably guilty of that.
Yeah, well, I am as well, to a certain extent, and it's something I want to try and get away from. But I think in the sort of, it's part of the nature of the work I do, and probably a lot of the stuff you do as well. We're kind of techie kind of people.
Yeah.
Kind of goes with the territory to a certain extent.
I do feel like I kind of I do try to have. I work a lot on my self-discipline, and really taking extra time and energy to look at my intentions when I sort of want things, or sort of, yeah, when I have desire for something. Like, why is it? Like, is it a good reason? I want to just share this picture with you because it's so relevant to what you're saying. Can I drag and drop this in here? No. I must be able to attach a file in here. No? The days of MSN Messenger when I was a wee ankle biter. Choose links. No, come on, surely. I'm going to send it on Facebook while I got it in my head. But it's just I've got this slightly dubious album of photos I've taken on my phone.
Okay.
I call secret photos, and it's like pictures that I've taken without people knowing, like on trains and public transport and just in parks and out and about. And I love them, man. I would love to, in a way, maybe have a sort of art gallery exhibition of not just my photos but other people's photos that I think, like, camera phones, for example, really liberate us to take. There's definitely a privacy aspect there, but
no, I get it, because it's so interesting to observe people when they don't know they're being observed, or not necessarily don't know they're being observed, but you know what
a lot of it is about. Go on.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean. It's sort of yeah, it's just interesting to sort of observe people in public and sort of see, you know, I don't know. I kind of get what you're saying.
Man, you think it reminds me of like Parisian street photographers like Cartier-Bresson and Robert Doisneau, who you know, like, recognised for their incredible street photography, capturing just everyday moments in the most sort of humble, beautiful, silly, wonderful, like, just a huge spectrum of emotions you can feel about just the kind of most private little kind of moments you just can see in the streets, like people, like, not exactly private, but people, like, just in their own world, and just capturing that. Yeah, hopefully not too personal, private, but sort of speak so much to everybody, because we can sort of learn more about ourselves and explore human nature, and there's nothing quite like street photography, I think. But anywho, so just, like, I suppose maybe finishing on the, if you're ready to, on the kind of feedback thing, at least for the minute. I mean, that's just one thing I wanted to show you, I think, mainly, was that Trello development board, because I guess that was maybe the best way I can think of off the top of my head right now for just very quickly and easily kind of gathering feedback on sort of proposals for changing things on the website. I mean, I think we've been talking a lot about Facebook and how many sort of different projects and movements use Facebook. I just think surely one of the main reasons is just because you know, 1 in 7 human beings are already on Facebook, and you know, use it most days of the week. So, you know, any activity that happens, that's going to give them a little pop-up notification. You know, they're going to be there. So it's potentially worth making compromises and sort of sacrifices just for having that very powerful link into. You just know people are going to be there. Yeah. Which is a bit sad, but because you don't want to have to compromise on the sort of interface. But yeah, like, we use Facebook a lot with ChageTheFuture, and yeah, as I say, we kind of do democratic voting, crude as it may be, with polls and stuff, and it works, you know, fairly well. But we do most of our sort of more advanced actual task management and leading tasks and stuff inside Trello. You do have to make an account to comment on things in there. But it doesn't take long, and it is very reliable and rock solid. Like, I've got a lot of people to sign up on Trello, and it does just work like clockwork. Email comes straight through. You click once, bang. But can you see you vote? You can vote on. So like looking at the Trello development board, you can see people have not only commented on each of these cards, but they can also vote on them as well, which is how you can say, yes, I want this thing to be changed.
Yeah.
So, for example, people want the ability to sort a list by number of votes and the date that it's due by and the coloured label and alphabetically, etc. And that's got 4,500 votes.
Yeah.
Compared to, you know, some of them are like Trello refrigerator. Got 706 votes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, this is good. I've found this really useful. This has been really good. And
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, and it's also made me think that maybe hosting a Google Hangout on a fairly regular basis for anybody who uses the website to join.
Yeah, maybe different times of day, because some people might not be able to make it. You know, if it's sort of. I think that's the problem with Change the Future is, you know, we kind of democratically decided when to have our 3 weekly events, including our strategy meeting, 8 p.m. Mondays, for example. You know, because that's when most people can make it, and we wanted to keep it the same time and place and stuff, so it kind of it sticks in people's minds and they put it in their diary and stuff. But then we're always missing, you know, Jessica, who would bring so much to the project, but her energy levels, because of her health at the moment, you know, she can't really make it at that time, and so we're missing out on her and really failing on our aim of being a really accessible project that's able to harness a really diverse community. It's not harnessing her, and we're still exploring how to improve that. But I mean, yeah, those feedback things potentially could be quite sort of dotted around different days and times potentially. Yeah.
Well, look, I've got there's a couple of people who from the Reset sort of core team of the Reset who are really keen to sort of work with me on promoting my website and sort of get involved, form part of a sort of team around it. I've been talking to them just today even just about having a sort of, well, we were going to have a sort of a Skype call between us just to chat about things, and you know, I'm thinking maybe we should do that via Google Hangouts and actually sort of almost make that the beginning of the, you know, the beginning of the process. And
yeah, nice. Yeah, you might as well. It's just so easy, isn't it? Just remember to remind people to install the extension first, because they're sort of like, oh, it says I need a plugin, and it's already like 5 minutes into the meeting, and then they're installing plugins. You had to do that, right? You had to install.
Well, yeah. When I think I had experimented with this once before without actually using it. I just sort of opened it up. So I think, but it did ask me whether I wanted to allow some extensions or something when I first opened it up. So yeah. But, no, it's good. This has been really good, and I think I'll obviously, you know, if I do have chats with other people about the website, you know, you're absolutely welcome to join in as well.
Yeah, wicked. Yeah, just give me a shout, I suppose. The buggery Facebook is probably quite a reliable one to get me on, I guess.
Yeah, but, I'm the same. I'm the same. It's the best way to get a message through.
Yeah. Man, just to like, if I can leave you with a concluding question, just to keep you tossing and turning in bed tonight. Just sort of, concluding on that thing about interface between projects and practicing what we preach. Not least Community Connector and Change the Future. Like what huge opportunity there surely is for these two projects to explore how they can connect and share resources, ideas, skills, networks, information. So just to sort of test this theory with you, really, which is like all my theories, kind of a complete work in progress. if the value of Community Connector and Change the Future, if our combined value is limited by our interface, like how good our interface is with each other, then how do we start creating that interface? I would say it is first the invitations. We create the invitations. That's what an interface surely is. I invite you to share your funding document with me. Putting an email out to your members to feedback on the Community Connector and how it could be better, to advise me on a thing, to, you know, this is invitations. And for me, that word is so powerful and applicable. It's a tangible word. It means something. Like, you know whether or not you've created an invitation. So I guess, yeah, that's the question I'd like to leave you with, is what invitations could you create that could start to work toward building an interface with other projects like Change the Future, Make Sense, We Share, and Good for Nothing, and things like these. There are so many different kinds of invitations I think we can create.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, yeah, like the Google Hangouts, obviously that's an invitation, isn't it? I'm doing this, come.
Yeah.
That's an invitation, isn't it? Like, you do this thing is not an invitation. That's like an order. But, yeah.
Definitely. No, you've got me. You got me with loads of things to keep me awake tonight.
Wicked.
Cool. We'll chat again soon.
Nice one, mate.
Yeah, actually, you're only down the road. We should actually meet up sometime.
That's hilarious, isn't it?
Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
You check out this thing called the Community Connector.
Yeah.
Helps you meet other people locally based on your interests. Awesome. Good.
Nice one.
Nice one, mate. Yeah, sleep well. Honestly, my door's always open. Just like rock up, shoot me a text, and let's have a cup of tea or go for a walk or a cycle. I love cycling.
Good stuff. Yeah. Keep in touch. Talk to you soon.
Nice one, all right, mate. Bye.